Next up, it's Sharon from Benton. From what I've heard, I feel pretty fortunate to have access to a pension. I've got the option to take a monthly pension or a one-time lump sum. The monthly option seems like a good idea, but I don't know if I'm missing something. So my question is, am I missing something? Thanks. Sharon, thank you for the question. And you are indeed very fortunate. Only 35% of Americans currently have a pension. And in the future, we certainly believe that number is going to be lower as pensions, especially in the private sector, continue to disappear. It's just become too much of a liability for corporations. They are eliminating them every day. We get a lot of calls from either current clients or prospective clients wanting to know about what decisions they should make about their pension because they're being bought out. Maybe they have an option for a lump sum, or they can take a monthly benefit at a date in the future. So let's walk through that for Sharon and other people, Tim. When you think about the pros and cons of either taking your pension as a monthly benefit or as a lump sum.
Yes, there's going to be multiple options of what you can actually do with that pension. Oftentimes, sometimes you don't have the lump sum option, so really that option might not even exist to you. But oftentimes, if you're married, you're going to have options of whether to take it single life, joint life, and all kinds of other things that we can sit down with our clients once we build an income plan and determine which scenario is the best. But for pensions, as you said, that monthly benefit sounds like a good idea, and that is one of the pros of a pension. Is it's a guaranteed lifetime income. So you're going to get a monthly check starting the month after you retire normally, or at least the full retirement age if you potentially retire a few years before that, and get a full monthly check that's going to start at some point in time and continue until your death. So that's one great pro for a pension. Also, depending on available options, the spouse may have a lifetime income as well. So I mentioned earlier, if you're married, you got that joint option. Sometimes you can have that spouse receive a 50% benefit, 75% benefit. It all goes back to how much risk is the insurance company or the pension plan taking on. And so your amounts are going to vary just a little bit based on that, and they will be lower if you give your spouse a benefit. But then when layered on top of Social Security, this could create a very sizable amount of retirement income that could take a lot of risk out of your retirement income plan. Because guaranteed income, that mailbox money that hits your door every month, we want to make sure that your required expenses that you're having every month are met by required and guaranteed income. And so having a Social Security payment or two Social Security payments and a pension, oftentimes that will guarantee you that you've got that mailbox money to make sure that you are living a good life that's going to meet your dignity and pay for your dignity as far as all the way throughout retirement, so you don't have to be a burden to any others, your kids especially. That's one of the concerns people have. And also that we're not going to run out of money as far as we are going to have that guaranteed check. But cons, unless you have a public pension, likely that check that you receive, that first check, will be the same amount all the way through retirement. So there's no cost of living adjustments. And so that is one definite drawback on taking that pension month after month, because after 15 or 20 years, that $3,000 check that you're receiving, it's still $3,000, but cost of living may have gone up to $4,500 or $5,000. So that is a con. And if something happens to you early in retirement, you really didn't receive much of a benefit. So I've known people in the past that have taken the guaranteed monthly payment, but after 2 years they passed away. Well, that check ends, and also there's no lump sum, no payment that goes to your beneficiaries. So that's a con. And then you have to wait for the paycheck. You don't have the option to be able to, if something happens where you need to repair your car, repair your HVAC or something like that, you can't go to a lump sum if you had moved that over to an IRA and grab that money and pay that expense. You're actually having to wait for that next monthly paycheck to come in. And then depending on your other assets, if you have an emergency or lump sum purchases you'd like to make, you're not going to have much flexibility. Again, you're going to have to wait for that next check, and you're not going to be able to really have much that you're going to be able to access unless you have a lot of other IRA funds or something else that you have. But again, this goes back to making sure that your retirement income plan is not only going to provide enough monthly income for you, but also give you flexibility and options throughout retirement.
You may take the lump sum then?
Take the lump sum, Scott.
That was very good. So the pros and cons laid out there by Tim on taking it as a monthly check. How about the one-time lump sum? What do you need to consider? Well, the pros are it gives you a lot of flexibility and access to retirement dollars if needed. Tim just talked about you have to wait on the paycheck if you take it as a monthly benefit. But if you have the lump sum, you have more dollars. Now, of course, you want to plan to make sure you don't raid that and run out, but you do have an account value that will allow you a lot of flexibility and to be able to invest those dollars, which means they could also grow and you could have a larger account value. You can certainly use a portion of that lump sum to purchase an annuity, and if that's the case, you could actually have an annuity that would provide monthly guaranteed income. Tim talked about needing your required income met with guaranteed income on a monthly basis. So if you need $5,000 a month just to pay the bills in retirement, we believe very strongly you need $5,000 in guaranteed income to meet those monthly expenditures. So a pension as a monthly benefit can do that. But you could also take the one-time lump sum, roll it over into an IRA, which is a non-taxable event, and then you have an account value and maybe use a portion of that account value to purchase an annuity that would provide the monthly income you need for your required income and still have the account value. So now you kind of have the best of both worlds, if you will. You have an account value and you have the guaranteed income in case the account value goes to zero. If you have a short life, your beneficiaries would receive an inheritance and you have more control over your retirement. Now, the downside of taking the lump sum, it might require more discipline with spending. You don't want to roll through all of those assets. We kind of alluded to that in the first piece of this conversation. If you have a one-time lump sum, you have to be careful about when you tap it because you don't want to run out of money because you don't have the guaranteed check anymore. And depending on how you invest the lump sum, it certainly might increase the risk that you have to your retirement. Now, if that's not enough to tell you that that's a lot to consider and it highlights the need for an advisor. If you're in this situation and you'd like help determining which option is right for you, I want to encourage you to step through the Ready to Retire process.